Hello there. Is this thing rolling? All right, sick. Yo, what's up, everyone? Welcome in to Spencer Talks NASCAR. I'm your host, Spencer Urquhart here, bringing you all things NASCAR. So if you're a NASCAR fan, buckle up. It's going to be a fun ride. We're going to do a weekly show talking all things NASCAR. And so we're going to kick this off with the 2024 season preview. Going to be breaking down all of the NASCAR Cup Series full-time chartered teams, what their goals are for this year, who's going to make the playoffs, going to have playoff predictions, as well as championship 4 picks, a championship pick, a rookie of the year pick, and then at the end, a Daytona 500 pick. So we're going to put our money where our mouth is. We're going to spend about the first 30 minutes or so just digesting everything, breaking it all down, and then we'll go ahead and make our picks at the end. So, yeah, let's get into it, y'all. Really excited to do this show here. It's something I've been wanting to do for a long time, because I've been a NASCAR fan since 2006. Been kind of quiet about it, not real vocal on social media about it or anything. But these past few years, basically ever since 2020, when it seemed like everyone thought they were an expert on everything, I kind of in a way got me back into it because I had more free time, and was kind of rediscovering old passions. And I was like, man, I was really into NASCAR there for a while. And I never really became not a fan, but I, kind of as you get older, it's harder to stay into things. So I feel like my fandom dropped off a little bit as the years went on, but then I kind of had a rebirth in 2020, and I feel like still have it. It's been like 5 years now, keeping up with it pretty close. Favorite drivers, Kyle Busch, got the repping the 8 here, sticking with him through his transition to RCR, which I was glad to see it. I was getting sick of JGR. It seemed like he was kind of getting the short end of the stick over there his past few years there with the team. But now at RCR, fresh start for KB. And yeah, it kind of got me excited last season to see what he could do with a new car. So yeah, it's very exciting to do the show with y'all. I'm going to quit rambling here and get to the preview, but just wanted to let y'all know a little bit about myself. I'm from Louisiana, not really from a racing background or anything, as I just got the teams pulled up here for y'all so we can go over that. But I just wanted to share a little bit about myself. 26 years old, so I've been a NASCAR fan ever since I was 8. Been almost 20-year fan. Wow. And then Kyle Busch started in 2005, so I've been a fan of his pretty much since his rookie year. So yeah, it's been cool to have me following one of the greatest drivers of all time, and also just the sport in general. I've really enjoyed knowing about the history of it and stuff. I've watched a lot of Dale Jr.'s videos and such detailing that, and had a book growing up, NASCAR Chronicle, that detailed the history of the sport and such. But yeah, let's get into this 2024 season preview, y'all. Really excited to do this with y'all this season. That's the goal. We're going to try to do at least one episode a week and hopefully have this thing expand into more if you guys are cool with this, with the content. So it might be a little rough at first, bear with me, but we're going to get there. We're going to keep building upon it and getting better as time goes on. So let's kick this thing off by previewing each team in 2024. We'll kick it off with Hendrick Motorsports. And they've got a stacked lineup once again. Kyle Larson driving the 5, Chase Elliott the 9, William Byron the 24, Alex Bowman in the 48. So if you're these guys at Hendrick Motorsports, if you're Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, William Byron, I mean, your goal for this season has got to be a championship. Not just winning races, but winning that championship. Larson and Elliott have done it before. Byron took a very big step toward it last year. Didn't quite get it done, but made his first championship 4. Led the Cup Series with, I believe, 6 wins. Had a very, very much of a statement year for Willie B. So all 3 of these guys are definitely capable. Chase Elliott needing to bounce back this year. Went winless for the first time, I believe, since his second full-time season. He had been on a strong run there, the 2020 Cup champion, but I think he'll bounce back. I'm not worried about Chase Elliott. He's still young, and he's still got a lot going for him. He's very talented. It's not like he completely fell off the map last year. He was still a top 10 contender most weeks. So I think Chase Elliott will be fine. What I'm a little worried about, though, is Alex Bowman. I mean, if I'm Alex Bowman, I mean, your biggest goal this year is to just get back to the playoffs. You know, if you're that team, you can't even really worry about championship right now. You just gotta make the playoffs again, man. I mean, they whiffed last season. They were way off. They started off strong, and then they just never really found their footing again. They had the big points penalty. Bowman was leading the points, I believe, they're like the first 4 races or something, and then just got the rug pulled out from under him at the big points penalty that NASCAR levied against him early with the new next-gen rules that are pretty strict. And then Bowman got injured, and he missed a few races and just wasn't ever the same after that. But I think this season will be an improvement for sure. So Hendrick, definitely very dangerous. Definitely still an elite team. So we'll see what they can do this year. But yeah, championship. I mean, they had 2 championship 4 guys, but didn't get it done last year. So definitely going to be out for revenge this year. Joe Gibbs Racing, next up on the list. JGR, my nemesis team, being that I'm a Kyle Busch fan. But got to admit that they're still one of the best in the garage. You know, got 4 strong drivers here with veterans there, and Denny Hamlin and Martin Truex Jr., and the 2 young guns there, Christopher Bell and Ty Gibbs. So if you're any of these 3, Hamlin, Truex, Bell, I feel like all these guys, it's championship or bust. You know, I mean, they're guys that are all capable of it. Christopher Bell made the championship 4 now the past 2 years, but I feel like he's got to win more races, especially in the regular season. He's done very well at delivering those clutch playoff wins, but as far as regular season, he's got to do a little bit better. But he's definitely got what it takes. He's very talented. I've got high hopes for C. Bell. Truex, though, I'm a little concerned about. You know, him and his crew chief, James Small, you would go at it a lot last season. It almost reminded me of what Kyle Busch would be with his crew chiefs back in the day, because it got kind of ugly there at times. So, and Truex normally isn't like that. Truex normally super calm, reserved. You know, he had the really good relationship with Cole Pern when he won the championship back in 2017, but got the new crew chief now, and I don't know. I mean, maybe they'll do well. I mean, they did well for a lot of last season. I mean, they were regular season champions, I believe, but they just, you know, they kind of fell off in the playoff big time. So we'll see if they can bounce back. And then Denny Hamlin, of course, championship contender every year, still has yet to win the big one, but he's oh so close to getting there. Maybe this will be his year, as he likes to put it. And then Ty Gibbs be his second year. I think Ty Gibbs takes a step forward this year. I really do. You know, he almost made the playoffs last year as a rookie, even though he didn't win. So I think he gets his first career win this year. All right, moving on to Team Penske, another one of the powerhouse teams. They'll probably be there's a powerhouse team that probably put them in there as the third with Gibbs and Hendrick. So we'll start off by talking about the defending champion, Ryan Blaney, as well as Joey Logano, the 2022 champion. So the past 2 years, Team Penske has been the Cup Series champion team, despite not being quite as sharp as normal. I mean, let's be real. I mean, the past couple of years, like especially last year, Team Penske was not on the level of Gibbs and Hendrick. I mean, they have been fairly recently, especially when they had Brad Keselowski, when they had him, Logano, and Blaney. They were really strong, but I mean, they've kind of fallen off a little bit, and a lot of that has to do with that 2-car not being an elite team anymore with Austin Cindric. Austin Cindric, I mean, it wasn't terrible last year, but he also wasn't nearly on the level of his teammates. So it was a big year for Austin Cindric. This will be his 3rd full-time Cup Series season. He had a strong rookie year, though. I mean, he won the Daytona 500, punched his ticket to the playoffs early, and ended up running pretty well throughout that year for the most part. But last year, he was just way too inconsistent. He's got to get better at intermediate tracks. He's just got to. I mean, he's too much of a liability there right now. He's got to improve his all-around driving style, because I mean, he's really good on the plate tracks and the road courses, but outside of that, he's not that great. So He's going to have to step up. Still young, though. He's got time. And then Blaney and Logano, of course, their biggest goals, championship. I mean, they're both former champions. They know how to get it done. Blaney really proved himself last year that he was more than just like a top 5 to 10 driver, that he was truly an elite driver that could win a championship. So shout out Ryan Blaney. He is definitely proven himself, and it's safe to say he's one of the series elite drivers now. But Austin Cindric has got to show more. Definitely needs at least a top 20 points finish this year to prove that he still deserves that 2 car. Let's move on now to a team that isn't exactly elite anymore, and that's Stewart-Haas Racing. Man, how the mighty have fallen. Stewart-Haas just a few years ago had arguably the best single team there with the 4, with Kevin Harvick. I mean, they unfortunately for them didn't win the championships they should have. Only won 1 championship, and that was back in 2014 before they really got dominant. Had all those dominant seasons, only 1 championship to show for it. That's kind of disappointing. But it's like now you're stuck with no one that's really a championship caliber driver now. I mean, Josh Berry taking over a rookie. I mean, you'd think like, man, he could be able to bring in like a prominent free agent or something, but they didn't really have much available this offseason, so they were kind of stuck with just having to settle with Berry, who I'm not saying is bad, but I mean, replacing a future Hall of Famer like Kevin Harvick, seems like a little uninspiring. And then Eric Almirola, another one of their veteran drivers, retired, to where Noah Gragson will be taking his spot in the 10 car, which, I mean, Gregson's not terrible, but I mean, considering he had a very tumultuous rookie year last year, probably wasn't their first choice. But I mean, let's be real. Who wants to drive for Stewart-Haas Racing right now? I know I wouldn't if I was a young up-and-coming driver. So Gregson, there's a chance for him to build his brand back up. He's still got Black Rifle Coffee backing him, so see what he can do there. Chase Briscoe and Ryan Preece, the 2 returning drivers. Briscoe in 22 had a solid season, won a race, made I believe the round of 8, had a very strong playoff run, but we could tell though toward the end of 22 that was a bit of fool's gold. That Stewart-Haas was starting. You could start to see the cracks or chinks in the armor there. And then last season, really was showing. I mean, Kevin Harvick, yeah, he made the playoffs, but it was a struggle, man. He didn't win any races. It was his, his farewell tour, but not a very pretty one as far as they just didn't have the speed over there. So I don't know how this season's going to go. To me, their biggest goal, I mean, really all 4 of them, is try to just have at least one win a race and you don't get shut out of the playoffs. I mean, when you got 4 drivers, I mean, that's the maximum allowed by NASCAR for the Cup Series. I mean, you think at least 1 or 2 would get in the playoffs, but I don't think any of these guys get in. I mean, unless they happen to sneak a win somewhere, but I just don't really see a path for it. They stunk last year, and I don't see it getting any better anytime soon. I think Tony Stewart's getting pretty antsy there. I think he even admitted it recently. If they don't perform better this year, there's going to be major changes over there. And I think by major changes, I think it's selling a charter too. Like, I don't see this team being a 4-car team much longer unless they prove me wrong and do a lot better than I'm thinking. If they stink and miss the playoffs completely, they're selling a charter. At least I believe they will. They're already kind of struggling with sponsorship and stuff. And Ford recently made Front Row Motorsports one of their key partner teams, to where it's probably going to be even less resources headed Stewart-Haas's way. So, yeah, times are rough right now for Stewart-Haas, but maybe they'll prove me wrong and do better than I'm thinking. But it's not a good time for Tony Stewart's team right now. At least I don't think. RCR, Richard Childress Racing, up next with my driver Kyle Busch along with Austin Dillon. I'm going to be blunt, though. I mean, RCR was pretty awful down the stretch last year. I mean, they started off really well, especially with Kyle Busch winning early, got 3 wins in the first half of the year. And in the second half, the wheels fell off. I mean, they were just, man, it was a disaster. And I mean, Kyle Busch, yeah, he still made the playoffs, made a round of 12, but I don't know. They were lacking speed, man. I don't know what was going on last year at RCR, but they were lacking speed for sure. And it was just, they got in so many wrecks. I mean, let's start with Dillon here. I mean, if you're Austin Dillon, biggest goal this year is really just cut down on the DNFs, bro. I mean, there's way too many DNFs last year, and Kyle Busch kind of joined him last year. He had a lot of wrecks down the stretch, so both these guys got to clean up their act. I mean, they're veteran drivers. They know better than that. But in their defense, I mean, the team's got to give them better equipment. I mean, you can't keep giving these guys mid-equipment and expect them to win races. So RCR's got to do better this year. They've got to get their cars faster, and I think they will. You know, they're still a key partner Chevy team, and Kyle Busch is definitely still hungry to try to win a championship, and that's definitely his biggest goal. Is if you're a guy with 60-plus career wins, multiple championships, I mean, every year you race full-time in the Cup Series at this point going forward, it's championship or bust. I mean, if you're a guy like Kyle Busch, if you don't feel like you're a championship caliber guy anymore, you might as well retire. But I think he still got it. I mean, he won 3 races last year. I know the second half was ugly, but I've got confidence that Kyle Busch will be back among the title contenders this year. All right, moving on now to 2311 Racing. Bubba Wallace and Tyler Reddick. Man, what a fun team that was last year. Really proved the doubters wrong. Bubba did for sure. A lot of people were saying Bubba didn't deserve that 23 car, but I think he proved that he did last year. Even though he didn't win any races, I mean, he made the solid playoff run there, made around the 12, and just was a lot more poised, a lot more consistent. Just showed a lot more maturity. It was just so much better last season. I gotta tip my hat to Bubba. I mean, and I just was watching the Netflix, the Full Speed series, and he just seems so much more poised. And I mean, he still had his little moments where he could be a little childish, but I mean, overall, he was much improved, and I think he's going to continue to improve. I think him and the old Booty Barker, I think they they make for a good duo. They're both kind of out there kind of guys, kind of, you know, just kind of wild, just a little, maybe not the most smart, but as far as when it comes to racing, it's about speed, and they found some speed last year there. So yeah, I think Bubba's here to stay at 2311, as well as Reddick. I mean, Reddick was very strong last year, won multiple races. And I mean, for this year, his goal should be championship 4. I think Tyler Reddick's got a chance to win the championship. And Denny Hamlin was saying the vision would probably wouldn't win a championship there, 2311, in like a few years from now. But I think Tyler Reddick could win it as soon as this season. I really do. And then Bubba, I don't think he's quite championship caliber yet, but I could see him maybe making round of 8 this year, you know, getting even better in the playoffs. So I'm very bullish on 2311, as well as RFK. Move on to them here. Roush Fenway, Keselowski Racing. There with Brad Keselowski, the owner driver, and Chris Buescher. Both of these guys were very strong last year. Keselowski didn't win any races, but he made a solid playoff push, made around the 12, was much better in year 2 as an owner driver. And then Chris Buescher had a huge breakout year 1, not 1, not 2, but 3 races, and made the round of 8. So big statement last season by RFK. This team is here to stay. Brad Keselowski, I mean, his biggest goal is just, you know, finally get the victory lane as an owner driver, but I think he does it this year. I think RFK's equipment is very strong. They're not going anywhere. It's a Roush. The Roush name is back. They are back to being consistent, winning, you know, contenders for wins. And Chris Buescher, you know, I think he's going to continue his success. Might not win 3 again, but I think he wins at least 2 races and makes another good playoff run, maybe even a championship 4 appearance. I mean, he was very well-rounded last year. Didn't really, I guess, intermediates. Was it intermediates or short tracks? He's more of a guy that he was kind of like, you know, a Hendrick, in that he's like, you know, his strengths of super speedways and road courses, but he was definitely better at the intermediates and short tracks last year. So yeah, he's definitely someone to watch, as far as I think he's going to continue improving it. And they got a third non-chartered team there, David Reagan, going to be attempting a Daytona 500, maybe a few other plate races, but the fact that they're expanding, like, that's a good sign. I think this team is definitely trending up, and I see their 2 full-time cars making the playoffs once again. Let's move on to another team that's trending up, Trackhouse Racing there. Ross Chastain, you know, showed that they were no fluke, you know, won multiple races again last year, made the playoffs. So, you know, not quite as good as 2022 when they had their breakout, but still solid. Chastain, I think, is someone that showed that he's here to stay. He made a statement in the last race of the year by not just laying over for the championship 4. He actually he kept pushing. I mean, he was pushing against Ryan Blaney pretty hard there and was able to hold him off to win the race at Phoenix, the finale. So that made an impression on me. That tells me that Chastain he's still the same old Ross. He's an aggressive driver. He doesn't care about making friends on the track. He's just there to win races. So I think he continues to improve upon that. And I think another championship 4 is definitely possible for him. Now got Busch on the hood. So got even more sponsorship dollars coming his way there. And then Daniel Suarez, he was strong in 22, but last year took a big step back. So he's going to have to get back on the saddle this year, because if not, they've got a lot of drivers that would be knocking on the door for that 99 ride, especially the one right below him there for Project 91, Shane Van Gisbergen. He's going to run a few cup races this year, the Australian Supercars sensation that came in and won the Chicago street race last year and his very first NASCAR start. I mean, just like, wow, what a story that was. SVG out of nowhere. They couldn't even say his name right on the broadcast. It was like, who is this guy? But he just came in there like a smooth criminal, took that race, and I think he's here to stay. He's an experienced guy. He's run the Australian Supercars for years. I think he could be a better version of Marcos Ambrose, because I don't know if for those that watch NASCAR for years, remember Marcos Ambrose came in from Australia, drove for JTG Daugherty for a little bit, and then Richard Petty Motorsports, and he had some success. He won a couple races there on the road courses, but I think SVG could end up being a better version of that, especially driving for Trackhouse, a team with funding that's trending up. So if Suarez doesn't perform this year, man, SVG could end up stealing that ride, as well as Zane Smith, the rookie who they've got on lease to Spire this year. So maybe Trackhouse could be a team that I think they definitely need a third, maybe even a fourth charter. Might not be able to afford 2 more charters, but I think a third would definitely benefit them with all the talent they've got there. Maybe they could be one of the teams to approach Stewart-Haas about a charter if Stewart-Haas falls apart. But yeah, SVG though, I think his goal is just to get experience. If he doesn't win a race this year, so be it. I mean, he's already proven himself that he can do it. So, he's not going to be full-time just yet. But if you're Suarez, like, he's got to step up. I mean, if I'm Daniel Suarez, my goal is to show that I still belong here. And I mean, if he doesn't finish top 20 in points, he's going to end up replaced. So I think he's got a lot to prove, but I think he can do it. He showed it. He stepped up when he needed to in 2022. So I'm not going to write off Daniel Suarez just yet, although I've got to say, I mean, he had his chance to really cement himself with Joe Gibbs Racing whenever Carl Edwards unexpectedly retired, and he didn't step up. So he hadn't always stepped up, but I mean, he did a couple years ago. So we'll see. Wood Brothers, Harrison Burton. Speaking of drivers that need to step up, man, Harrison Burton, he's got to get better. I know he's still very young, but he has not shown hardly any growth so far in 2 full-time seasons there at the Wood Brothers. I'm starting to think he might need to go back down the Xfinity or the trucks or something, but we'll see what he can do. This will be year 3 full-time in the Cup Series. So to me, his biggest goal is to show that he belongs, at least get a top 25 points finish. Don't even worry about winning necessarily this year. I mean, it would be nice. The winning cures a lot of problems, but I mean, it's top 25 points finish, and I think that would get him another year in that seat. Because, I mean, if he doesn't finish top 25, I don't think he gets another year over there. I mean, that's a team that they're aligned with Penske. They want a guy that can contend, for the playoffs. So, I don't know. It was a big year for Harrison Burton, though. I know that. Kaulig Racing up next, another team that's got a lot to prove. Their 16 cars are going to be split between multiple drivers. AJ Allmendinger, Josh Williams confirmed so far for that. Josh Williams, an Xfinity guy that's going to be getting Cup experience this year. His goal just be experience. Allmendinger, his goal obviously is try to trophy hunt, try to win whenever he's in the seat. He'll probably drive the super speedways and road courses. It's a shame that he lost his ride full time there. I mean, he was solid last year. I mean, he wasn't quite playoff worthy, but he was almost there, and he won a race at the end. I mean, he won the Charlotte Roval. I mean, he didn't deserve to lose that seat, but I guess sponsorship dollars dictated otherwise. But then Daniel Hendrick going to be their only full-time guy this year. He's probably not going to win any races. His goal should be to just be consistent, prove he belongs, try to get a top 25 to at least top 30 points finish for Daniel Hendrick. Just show that you still belong in the Cup Series type thing. So moving on now to JTG Daugherty Racing. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. made the playoffs last year. He set the bar fairly high there, Daytona 500 winner. So he's going to try to keep building on that. So, I mean, I think another playoff berth is realistic. We'll see if he can get it done. It's a tough field, though. A lot of other good drivers. So if he doesn't win a race, it's probably unlikely. He's got to do better in the second half, because last year he did pretty well in the first half after that Daytona 500 win. In the second half, seemed like he kind of fizzled. So trying to have a more complete season should be a goal there for Tricky Ricky. Moving on now to Legacy Motor Club, a team that should be much improved this year with backing from Toyota. Not only getting backing from Toyota, but going to be one of Toyota's key partner teams, along with JGR in 2311. So huge development there. Legacy Motor Club should be much better this year. I kept Eric Jones on over there. He should have a much improved season this year. He's won race with them in 2022, took a step back last season, but didn't have the good support from Chevy. Seemed like they had a lot of bad equipment, but he ended up having a few races down the stretch where he did pretty well, even with the kind of bad equipment. So I think Eric Jones is a very talented driver. I see him bouncing back in a big way this year. I think he could win a race for sure. And then John Hunter Nemechek going to be taking over there. Basically a rookie. He hadn't run a Cup Series, full-time Cup season since 2020. So, I mean, he did do it that year with Front Row. So, I mean, he's not technically a rookie, but he doesn't have much Cup experience, but did very well last year in the Xfinity Series with JGR. He was kind of like the next man up in the Toyota development pipeline. So, he definitely deserved this ride, and I think he'll do pretty well there. The 42 was a disaster last year. Gregson got fired, like 20 races in, and they were just kind of piecing it together from there. But Jay Chin got some starts there, did pretty good. I think he earned a full-time seat there, and might not win right away, but as long as he gets like about a top 25 points finish, I think that'd be a solid goal for him to hit. And then the old 7-time will be back. Jimmy Johnson gonna drive in select races in that 84 car. Hopefully he'll do a little better this season. Made the Daytona 500. Always cool to see Jimmy still around. Hopefully he doesn't win. I mean, I saw him win enough growing up. Damn, I was starting to despise him growing up because he'd always get the spoils at the end. But he's a class act. Can't hate on Jimmy Johnson. We'll see what he can do this season driving there for, was it LMC? Yeah, Legacy Motor Club. Yep, he's a part owner over there too. So Jimmy definitely still very involved in the sport. Front Row Motorsports up next here. Michael McDowell had another very strong year last year, probably a career year last year. I know in 2021 he won the 500, made his first playoffs, but last year he was very solid and not only won a race, but I mean he was, even if he hadn't won that race, he may have made the playoffs. I mean he was very strong last year at a lot of tracks, not just the road courses and super speedways. He won on a road course, and I mean that's still his bread and butter, but he's definitely a more well-rounded driver now. And Front Row is continue to improve and is now aligned with Penske and is a Ford key partner. They're definitely trending up, and it's good that they've stuck with their guys. Todd Gilliland, having continuity over there I think is important. Last year, it seemed like they were maybe straying away from Todd Gilliland, but I think he showed enough last year, even though he didn't get to run all the races with him, and to make a few spot starts with Rick Ware, but he ended up starting all the races and did fairly well, held his own there, and he was able to prove that he was worthy of that 38 car, and so Zane Smith was in their pipeline. Not sure if they decided to pick Gilliland over Smith, or if Smith just left because he got a better offer. I kind of think it's because Smith got a better offer. No offense to Gilliland, but I think if they'd had their choice, they'd have probably gone Smith. But Gilliland's solid nonetheless. His goal should be to try to get a top 25 points deal, maybe a win. McDowell, of course. I mean, try to get more wins and playoffs. I mean, they set the bar high over there. And then Kaz Grala going to be running the Daytona 500 for him, a young driver there that, is going to continue to try to sharpen his skills to prove that he deserves a cup ride down the road. All right, Spire up next. Spire Motorsports, a very exciting team with a lot of young talent. A 3-car operation this year, 3 full-time cars. Going to have Corey LaJoie back in the 7, and then 2 exciting rookies there, Zane Smith in the 71 and Carson Hocevar in the 77. I believe that Zane Smith is probably going to win Rookie of the Year this year. I mean, I think Zane Smith's in a very good position to make an impact. He's on lease from Trackhouse, should have support there, a good amount of support. WeatherTech's on the hood, a fairly big sponsor. I think they're going to get some good support. And Zane's a guy who really proved himself in the Truck Series, former Truck Series champ. Truck Series nowadays is pretty much on par to Xfinity, as evidenced by, both him and Hocevar pretty much just bypassing Xfinity, going straight to Cup. It's not like the old days where it's like, oh, you had to then go to Xfinity, then go to Cup. I mean, that's still the preferred method, but it just goes to show, I mean, if you're a talented driver, like, you can skip Xfinity and go to Cup from trucks. So Hocevar is one I'm a little concerned about as far as, I mean, he's so young to where I mean, obviously both him and Zane's goals are Rookie of the Year, but to me, if I'm Carson Hocevar, I'm just trying to be consistent and stay out of trouble. I mean, they both, if you're a rookie, it's obviously you don't want to do too much and get caught up in stuff and piss people off, but I just feel like Zane Smith's just got a little more experience, a little more poise to him. I feel a little better about him this year than Hocevar. But, I mean, Hocevar held his own in a few Cup starts he made last year. Kind of made an ass of himself in the Truck Series finale last year. Got caught up in the intentional wreck BS and stuff. But I think he's someone that has got a lot of talent. If Spire's willing to build around him, I think they've got a bright future. It's got to be patient, though. I mean, he's a kid. I mean, he's so young, but definitely got potential if the team's patient with him. Zane Smith, not sure if he's on lease, like from Trackhouse, so I don't know how long that's going to last, but I mean, if they can keep him and Hocevar, they've got a bright future. I mean, LaJoie's pretty young too. I mean, LaJoie, his goal should be this year to try to get, I think, at least a top 25, maybe even a top 20 points finish. Because, I mean, let's be real. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of buzz around this team, but they haven't really done it yet. They haven't really proven anything. So, I mean, yeah, they're a 3-car team, but they've still got a lot to prove. And, I mean, Corey LaJoie is their best bet as far as improving on that. Has Chili's on the hood for the Daytona 500. Not sure if that's just a one-off, but if they do well, might be able to attract some better sponsors there too. Spire Motorsports, definitely an exciting team that's trending up and could have a bright future in this sport. This year will be very telling, I feel like, as far as all that. And our last team, the chartered teams, the preview here are Ware Racing, 15 car, going to be split. Riley Herbst running the Daytona 500, might run a few other races. Kaz Grala, because they're going to run the majority of the races. I believe he signed to run like 25, 26 races there. So be interesting to see what they do. Both Xfinity guys, both just looking to get Cup experience, try to eventually get full-time Cup rides. And Herbst took a big step forward last year. I mean, he finished top 10 at Daytona 500 or won an Xfinity race, dominated the race last year with Stewart-Haas. Like, he's someone that's definitely making a mark. As Monster Energy sponsoring him. He's a guy that's come a long way. So we'll see what he can do there in limited starts. And then Justin Haley, their full-time guy there, brought him in from Kaulig Racing. A big free agent signing. Rick Ware's Racing's first big free agent signing, Justin Haley, which seemed to help them in keeping both of their charters. BJ McLeod's Live Fast Motorsports there. They're going to still run a few races, but they lost their charter, which really hurts. But Rick Ware, on the other hand, still has both their charters. So Justin Haley, man, I know it's his first year with the team, but I mean, his goal should be to try to just be consistent and get the points finished somewhere about top 25 to 30, maybe sneak a win. I mean, you never know, especially at those super speedway races. I mean, Ware Racing, they have enough horsepower, got a Roush Yates alliance to where they're capable at super speedway races, and I believe Haley's pretty good at shorter ovals and road courses. So, I mean, it'd be unlikely that he'd win, but you never know. You never know. So we'll see. Definitely needs to show something though. Don't want to fall flat and finish like 34 guys. You don't want to finish like below 30. You want at least a top 30 points finish if you are Justin Haley. But yeah, that's it as far as all the chartered teams. So that's my little season preview there, and with goals for everybody and outlooks for all the teams. So let's now pick the playoffs. I gave y'all my rookie of the year pick. I'm going with Zane Smith over Josh Berry. I definitely am. And as far as most popular driver, the most it's just such a dumb award. I mean, we already know it's going to be Chase Elliott. I don't even know why they still do it anymore. It's the same guy every year. And then when he retires, I'm sure it'll be some other son of a famous driver. I don't know. It's so silly, but we're we're going to move on from that. Let's get on to now picking the playoffs. Who will be the 16 playoff drivers? And I'll pick a championship 4 and a champion. So let's, I guess I'll do is I'll highlight the guys I think that are going to make the playoffs. So, all right, definitely think Kyle Larson gets in. Elliott, I think, bounces back and gets in. Byron, of course, I think gets in. And Alex Bowman. I'm going to go with Alex Bowman. I think Bowman bounces back enough this year to get in. Don't know how consistent he'll be, but they've got upside there. I mean, I think they'll get a win. They'll get at least one win there. So I think he'll get in because of that. All right, JGR. I think Denny Hamlin gets in. Christopher Bell. And then I had a tough decision here because I don't know if JGR is going to get all their cars in. I mean, Toyota is so competitive. Like, you got to leave somebody out. I don't think all the Toyotas get in. So I think we have to leave one JGR guy out. Well, we'll keep y'all waiting on that. We'll circle back here. Either Truex or Ty Gibbs going to get left out there. And then for Team Penske, I think Austin Cindric gets left out. I'm going to go ahead, though, and say Blaney and Logano both get in. I think Logano bounces back this year. So, for new drivers, I had highlighted. So, well, I don't think Noah Gragson gets in, so we don't have to worry about that. So just ignore him and Josh Berry. I don't think anyone from Stewart-Haas gets in, as I mentioned earlier, so we shall skip over them. RCR, KB, I think gets in. Austin Dillon, I don't think he hadn't shown me enough. I don't see him getting in, man. 2311, I think both Bubba and Reddick get in. Maybe I'll do this. Do the italics as well. Well, I mean, because Barry, I can't win. I just can't win. I was like, because David Reagan's also blocked out. Oh, well, I don't know what I'm doing here. Anyway, y'all know the picks. Bear with me. First episode, y'all. Brad Keselowski and Chris Buescher, I both think get in. I think they're both very strong and will continue to improve upon their success from last year. Same with Ross Chastain. I think he's shown enough to get in. How many is that now? Let me count them here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, that's half. 9, 10. And then is that 14, 11, 12, 13, 14. All right, so that's 2 more spots. All right, we're going to pick our I don't think both these JGR guys get in, so that means one of the 2 gets in, one gets left out. Ty Gibbs, Martin Truex Jr. Who gets left out? And if y'all listened earlier, I said I wasn't too high on Truex and was feeling pretty good about Gibbs. So I'm going to stay consistent and pick Ty Gibbs. I think the second-year driver finds a way to get in. I think he wins a race. I really do. As for Truex, I mean, let's be real. He's gone through winless droughts before, as we saw in 2022, where he completely missed the playoffs. And I'm going to just go out on a limb and say fate repeats itself. I know that's kind of a bold prediction there, considering he was last year's regular season champion. I feel like pretty much every other NASCAR pod will predict him to make the playoffs. But I feel like there's always something unexpected as far as that. I mean, him missing it in 22 was crazy. And then last year, Chase Elliott missing it. I mean, it's hard to call stuff like that, but you can pretty much guarantee that there will be someone from the preseason consensus that doesn't make it. And so I'm just going to go ahead and say Truex is going to be the guy that falls short. I mean, he's getting older. He's always on the cusp of retirement, it seems. And I mentioned earlier about him and James Small as crew chief not getting along too well a lot of times. So I'm going to say Truex misses it. And so that means there's one more spot available. And I was really torn on who to pick for the 16th spot. And I was torn between Michael McDowell and Eric Jones. Really torn on them. McDowell had the better year last year, but Jones, he's so talented. Toyota now key partnered with Legacy Motor Club. Front Row Motorsports, though, now the Ford key partner. McDowell showed a lot of improvement last year. But I'm going to go ahead and pick Eric Jones for that 16th spot. So Toyota still gets that last spot, just instead of Truex, it's Eric Jones. So I think he showed enough a couple of years ago that shows when Legacy has solid equipment, he can run really well, won a race there. And so I think he's going to get back to the playoffs this year. And I think McDowell and Truex fall a little bit short, So, and then Stenhouse, he made it last year. I don't think he quite gets it. Who else that made it last year falls short? Was that the only three? I think so. Yeah, so they had the new guys. They had Elliott and Bowman. Well, Gibbs, they had someone else. Oh, and Harvick. Well, I mean, Harvick retired, so yeah, so that's four new guys in this year's playoffs. And I think Eric Jones will join the club. So those are my playoff predictions. Y'all take them for what you will. I am not a prophet, although I do study this stuff a lot. So yeah, take that for what that's worth. All right, so the championship 4, let's do it. Hendrick, I think, gets at least one guy, and I'm going to say Kyle Larson. I think Larson gets in. He's so talented. It's so hard to bet against him. I think he gets in. He's capable of winning anywhere you go. I mean, yeah, he had more DNFs than usual last year, but I mean, let's be real. Kyle Larson is a freaking beast, man. And I think he gets in. This will be his third championship 4 in 4 years. So I think he keeps it going. Denny Hamlin, I also think gets in. Denny Hamlin, I think, is on a serious mission this year. He keeps having to hear all the haters saying he's never won a championship. I think he takes that personal. I really do, especially now he's got the podcast and stuff. So sometimes it gets the best of him, but he's still at the top of his game. I think he gets one of those 4 spots. I'm going to say Penske misses out, and I'm going to say Kyle Busch sneaks one of the 4 spots. I think Kyle Busch is going to be much better in the playoffs this year. I think they're going to improve upon the mistakes from last year. And yeah, I think KB gets one of those 4 spots. I think he's going to be more consistent. He's going to be, more smart about his cars and later in races. And I think RCR as a team should be a little bit better this year. So I'm going to go ahead and go with KV. And then for my 4th spot, tempted to go with one of the RFK guys, but I'm going to go with Tyler Reddick. I think 2311's on the cusp of something special, and I think Tyler Reddick's got what it takes to make the championship 4. I mean, he's won multiple races the past 2 years. He's gotten a little more consistent. I mean, he's a young driver with a lot of talent. Sometimes it's tough for him to harness that. He gets probably in a little more wrecks than one would like to see, but I think he's a little more mature now and is going to do better this year. And I think, him and Kyle Busch being in there will make for a lot of fun, being that they're kind of both the talk of silly season, the off season of, well, it's kind of weird the way silly season works. The 2022 silly season cycle, they were very much in the news. So it'd be kind of fitting to see both of them in the championship 4. But my championship pick, as much as I'd like to pick my guy Kyle Busch or the young gun Tyler Reddick or the never before champion Denny Hamlin, despite all his years of trying. I've got to go chalk and pick Kyle Larson. Just got to. I mean, a guy that is talented. I mean, he's got all the momentum. I mean, he's got backing now. I mean, he's running the Indy 500. I mean, he's living his dreams. He overcame the embarrassment of 2020 with the iRacing. You know, God, we all know what happened there. It was not pretty, but he's overcome that. He's done what he's needed to do, and he's now a champion race car driver. And so, you know, he's won one championship. Why not two? You know, he's someone that is hard to beat, and I think he's gonna continue to prove that he's one of the greatest drivers of this generation. And yeah, he's gonna win the championship and the Indy 500. Nah, I'm not gonna go that far. Can't disrespect his IndyCar guys. I also like IndyCar. Got the IndyCar team chart too. I'm about to do a video preview an IndyCar here coming up. Their season starts next month, but yeah, not gonna go that far. You know, I'm probably thinking, man, this guy's off his rocker picking Larson to win the championship and the Indy 500. Man, he must be Larson's best friend or something. But no, I mean, I think Kyle Larson, though, is in really good shape. I mean, with Hendrick, I mean, hell, any of those guys could do it, Elliott or Byron. But I think Byron kind of comes back to earth this year as a whole. But for the Daytona 500, which we're going to get to next, let's just say one of these Hendrick guys will be my pick to win. So if you hate Hendrick Motorsports, cover your ears because I see one of their guys winning. But let's break the field down here. Daytona 500. We'll get to that here before we sign off here on Spencer Talks NASCAR. I've had a lot of fun talking NASCAR with y'all, man. My apologies. The intro was kind of rocky there. You know, like I said, it's my first time doing a NASCAR show, but I feel like as we've gotten into this, I feel like I'm in a groove now. I'm having fun. This is fun, man. I really hope we can make this a serious thing and keep this going for a while. And yeah, any likes, comments, subscriptions, you know, I know I'm new, but if you've made it this far, man, like let's you could say you'd be the first to support the channel. So yeah, if you want to be a part of something new, help build something up, your support would be much appreciated. So yeah, let's show the Daytona 500 odds here before we sign off. Got the odds pulled up on DraftKings Sportsbook. The odds to win the Daytona 500. A lot of sportsbooks just have odds to win. DraftKings, though, if you go on their app, this is the the PC version. Only has the odds to win. But if you go on their app, you can pull up like top 3, top 5, top 10 odds. But we're just going to keep it short and sweet here and pick a winner. So let's just go through it here. Joey Logano tops the chart at 9-1, followed by Brad Keselowski and Denny Hamlin and Ryan Blaney. Those guys would be considered the 4 favorites there. Because then you got a bunch of guys wadded up at 12-1. Bubba, Kyle Busch, Christopher Bell, and Chase Elliott. Then you got Kyle Larson, William Byron, 16-1, 18-1, both really good values in my opinion. Because I mean, Chase Elliott, like I don't know why Chase Elliott would have better odds than them. I mean, and Byron especially. I mean, William Byron's so good at restrictor plate races. I don't know why his odds are like that. And then Michael McDowell, one of our front row drivers, so him and Joey Logano are going to be sharing the front row. So 18-1 for him. Then Chris Buescher at 18-1. That could be a value. RFK. Keselowski up there among the favorites, but I feel like Chris Buescher could be a sneaky play, especially since he won't be at practice, which I mean, some people would say that's a bad thing because of the birth of his child. I think it's his first child, they said, but it's one of those things. I just think when you've got a lot of good things happening in your life, obviously it's a good thing for Chris Buescher. I just think that could actually be good for him. He'll be coming back fired up. He's a dad now, and I think, like he's someone that's so good at these plate tracks. I think at 18-1, he could be worth taking a flyer on. Then you got Ty Gibbs, Martin Truex Jr. there at 20-1, and Tyler Reddick, I think is pretty good play at 22-1. He won the first dual race. I think that's a pretty good value for him. Then Ross Chastain, Alex Bowman, 28-1 is kind of interesting. Austin Cindric, former Daytona winner, and as well as Ricky Stenhouse, both at 30-1. Eric Jones, 30-1. He's good at plate tracks. Austin Dillon, another former 500 winner, 40-1. Corey LaJoy, one of young up-and-comers, 45-1. Then as you see the rest here at 50-1 or longer. Trying to see here, long shots. Zane Smith at 70-1 is very interesting, as well as David Reagan and John Hunter Nemechek. I feel like all three of these guys at 70-1 are very intriguing there. I wouldn't bet on anyone past this. So all these other guys, I ain't touching anyone of these. I mean, they're guys that can maybe finish top 10, but I don't see any of them winning. But I mean, I think it's like 32, 33 guys. I think any of these guys could potentially win. I mean, that's so insane to think the field is that deep, but it is. So let's pick a winner now. I kind of alluded to it. I felt like William Byron was such a great value there at 18-1 because I legitimately think he's going to win this thing. I really do. I'm going with William Byron. I mean, he won the most races in the Cup Series last year. He's run very well at Daytona before. He's won at Daytona before, the fall race. You know, I think he's a good pick to win this thing, and getting him at 18-1. So that's my pick, y'all. Willie B, I think, is going to win the Great American Race, but obviously rooting for number 8, Kyle Busch. Had it stolen from him last year, but I think he could get it done this year. But 12-1, I don't know. And then he'll be starting deep in the field after wrecking out of the dual race. So he's going to have his work cut out for him, working his way up through the pack. But that is my pick, y'all. Willie B, William Byron. I believe he starts in the top 10 because he was somewhat involved in that big wreck in duel 2, but he got out of it scot-free. I think his car is good. I don't think he'll have to go to a backup. So, all right, y'all. Yeah, that's going to do it for the first episode here. Really appreciate y'all rocking. Went a little long there, but, you know, want to do a full in-depth season preview here for the 500 tomorrow. So, yeah, really excited to see how it goes, y'all. Drop your pick for the 500 and your championship pick, whatever else you want to talk about. I'll try to respond to your comment as soon as possible. And yeah, it's been fun. Really, really fun. Glad to be doing this here. Finally, after almost 20 years of being a fan, finally doing NASCAR content. So this has been Spencer Urquhart with Spencer Talks NASCAR. We'll talk again next week. Thank y'all.